Like a few months ago, we had a Ramadan, and I had a chance to invite my neighbors, our friends. I had a chance to meet one of the famous rabbi from a Jewish faith. The story was telling me regarding like those days. He said there was a golden days when the Muslims and Jewish and they were living together. When they used to go shopping, they used to leave the kids with the Muslim.
Yeah.
When the Muslims used to go, they used to leave the kids with the Jewish family. That's how close they were.
Absolutely.
You know.
Absolutely.
So we all had a golden time, and he showed if we go back. That's the only way you can be happy. That's the only way. I mean, we believe in one God and the one world. Why can't we have peace together?
Absolutely. I mean, the famous pictures that keep coming out are the ones of Muslim soldiers in the Second World War and the First World War who fought alongside those from this country, you know. They're quite powerful images, which often go unnoticed. And as you say, this sort of more accepting period is it also goes unnoticed. The example I always use, actually, is medieval Spain. Before the Reconquest, when you had Christians and Muslims and Jews living together, mostly in the south.
I think that would be very interesting to our viewers. If you could take time and explain it, it would be
I would
brilliant.
love to, yeah. So essentially what happened was that there was an influx of Arabian culture, and you had mosques built across Spain, but you also had Jews coming, building synagogues, and you had an indigenous population of Christians. And now it wasn't always quite fine and dandy. There were a lot of military tensions, but alongside that, actually, it was a time of great cultural flourishing. So it was a time of enlightenment when people talked about philosophy, they talked about music, they talked about poetry, they shared stories. If you look at the court of someone like, there was a king who lived in the 13th century called Alfonso X, and I actually wrote my dissertation on him in Oxford about Christian and Muslim relations as depicted in a set of songs. So the set of songs sets poetry which is about tensions between Christians and Muslims. But if you look at the artwork, it is covered in Arabian influence. The music meters were inspired by Arabic modes and meters. So, and in his court, he had a lot of courtiers who were Muslim, who were musicians, actually, and who wrote poetry for him. So his court was a court where different cultures came together and different ideas were shared, and science came over from the East. So a lot of medical science, actually. And this came about because people were willing to work together, ultimately. And then, obviously, the Reconquest was a bit more troublesome, and we have seen a growing tension in Spain between Christians and Muslims over the 20th century. But if you look back quite a long way, there was a very interesting time of cultural sharing, which I think should be an inspiration to us all. And it's, again, something that you tend not to learn about in history at school. And I was really keen to explore that in my dissertation in Oxford, which a dissertation is a long piece of writing that you do towards your final degree. And you look at the subjects in close detail. So I was really keen to look at Christian-Muslim relationships in music.